Okay, we're live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Business Boardcast. Lovely to see you. I am delighted today. I have got my friend Nick Babington with us. I've known him 15 years. I know you can't believe that because we look so young, but we've known each other 15 years now since I started Orange. He originally, I knew him when he was sales director at Peninsula. Since then, he's travelled the world. He set up Peninsula Canada, then he came back and was running Corona. Now he is at Health Assured. So welcome. Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Nikki. When we first started working together, I had full black hair. So I don't know what that's happened. What happened in that time scale?
Yeah, I needed a bit less hair dye.
Oh, I know it's terrible, isn't it? But no, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Very
Excellent.
much. Nice to see you. I know we've spoken a bit, but it's nice to see you.
I noticed you're in a bit of a leafy area there as well. You got a big leaf on the wall.
Well, I'm actually in my dining room.
Very nice.
For the echo, but that was a leaf that we got in Canada. We actually bought that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is it a maple leaf?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and sprayed.
Excellent.
So getting that back on the airplane was really quite tricky. They weren't particularly happy with it, but anyway, we got it back and it came in one piece. So we thought we'd stick it in the middle of the wall. There we go.
Brilliant. Well, welcome everyone to our show, the Business Boardcast. Today, Nick and we're going to be talking about mental health, how to look after your employees, and different programs that you could put in place. It's really strong area for Health Assured what they do, and so Nick has got first-hand experience of what different companies put in place to help their employees. As always, please do ask any questions or post any comments as we go along, even if it's just to say hi. It's nice to see you, so it's good to say hi so we know that we're not on our own sims. But let's get to it. So, Nick, I know it's a bit of a facetious question, but why should employers care about their employees' mental health?
Cool, that's a good question, isn't it? Okay, why should employers? Well, I think we need to recognise that mental health and stress exists. I think it's fair. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, people would brush it off, wouldn't they, as employers? Oh, you'll be fine. But just read the news. It's everywhere. Even this morning on GMTV, they were talking about stress, mental health, COVID. I mean, that's a prime example. I mean, statistically, 62% of employees are or have this year experienced symptoms of stress. And that's quite a serious number, isn't it?
Yeah, huge. Absolutely. And you need to be able to manage that. And as an employer, it's a really difficult situation because you're not really sure what are you supposed to do. You can ask, have they been to their GP? But we all know that, some GPs are easier, others to get hold of. And mental health service is really underfunded, and both sides of Parliament admit it's underfunded. So as an employer, there's this employee assistance program, isn't there? What is there, and what are the benefits of implementing one?
Okay. So what we need to do as business owners, because you'll want to, is we need to have a roadmap in place. There must be some type of roadmap where an employee are able to go somewhere to get support and advice. Okay. So business owners aren't expected to be experts, but they are expected to have something. So an employment assistance program has been around for many, many years, where an employer would put in as a benefit, where an employee will be able to pick up the phone and have a conversation with a trained counsellor, not just on stress or depression, but it could be family, divorce, financial. So if we look at how that would work, it would come in as a complimentary advice line, a 24/7 advice line.
So you
So
provide it
25
to all the employees that they're
all the
available to use
employees.
this
Yeah,
this line. Yep.
absolutely. It used to be a line when 10 years ago, you'd get a certificate handed to you as an employee, or a little card, or there might be a note on the toilets to ring this number. You can imagine now a lot of it's digital, so
Mm-hmm.
you're able to get onto an app now and get advice. In fact, you can press a button on an app and go straight through to a counsellor. That's a secret, by the way. We are trialing that at the moment. We haven't fully announced it, but that's happening. So I think that's great, the fact that somebody can do that. We picking up the phone is still the preferred route, and once that happens, advice is provided and guidance at that point, and then a counsellor is chosen, and then that route is taken on, and that could be face to face, local to where they are. Could continue over video, or it could continue over phone. So typically it'd be put in, and an employee are able to ring up and have that coaching.
And what sort of calls are these? Just one-off little things, or is this a continuous program? How does that work?
You fuzzed off for me just a bit. Could you say that
Oh,
again, Nikki?
apologies.
Sorry. It's okay.
I was going to say, what is it? Just a one-off call? Help me in this situation, or is it? Are you able to speak to like the same counsellor multiple times?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, typically the schemes are either 6 or 8 sessions face to face. So we've got people calling in from, as you can imagine, for all types of things. To the relatively straightforward, to the really not particularly pleasant. Typically, a call would have, or a person would have, up to 8 face-to-face counselling sessions and unlimited calls. So somebody could ring in and have unlimited calls and discussions on a certain area. That could be moving house, that could be debt, that could be stress, that might be something work related or matrimonial, something like that. So that's typically how it works. The difficulty in all these things is you might well find that somebody are having issues. Okay, they're having issues, but they could be sparked from something that's happened 5-6 years ago. And at that point, it's very, very important on what level of counselling somebody would need. Maybe they need a bit more intense counselling, or maybe it is something that can be covered off in a straightforward call. It's quite varied, Nikki. In fact, I've spent all last week listening to some of our advisors. Certainly opened up my eyes with the types of calls that we've been getting.
What sort of calls? I mean, obviously they were confidential calls, and obviously you won't share any of the but give us a flavour of the types of calls that you were able to listen into, and the positives of how they, well, hopefully how people were able to be helped.
Yeah, do you know what? And if you see me pointing down for the odd time, I'm just making sure that everybody can hear me okay.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start with the more trickier calls. I was quite surprised to learn that daily we are receiving calls from people who are considering ending their life and are calling to say, I'm doing this, and at that point, we're rallying around trying to get emergency services there, and that happens, and that was quite difficult to listen to. The typical calls that I had were people that had circumstances that they couldn't control. So I was listening to one particular person who had lost their father, and their mother had passed away a few years before. She's now living with her auntie. She's moved across the country, and she hasn't got many friends. She's missing her boyfriend. She's struggling to find work, and she's just not in a good place, and that's just incredibly sad. I spent quite a bit of time on our student advice line, where I was listening to some of the students talking through about some of the challenges they're having with the home working and COVID, getting through the exams and all the challenges that they're having. So,
and that was is that a university or is that a college that's providing that service?
we look after a lot of universities and colleges.
Universities,
so this was a particular college.
So that's a very responsible, really responsible university that's implementing things like that.
Yeah,
so they've got that available for their students.
We have a lot, and they recognise that there's challenges within that environment. I mean, we've read some not particularly pleasant articles that have happened within the harassment stage, haven't we, with some students, and that's not been particularly nice. So we look after a lot of colleges and universities, and on the flip side, I was listening to some financial calls. So we had some people that were ringing in that were in debt, and people talk about the economy where there's lots of jobs, but actually, if you're in hospitality, say, okay, and you're working in a bar and it's £10 an hour, you're not going to go to another bar and get £15 an hour. It's always £10 an hour, and while it's £10 an hour, your costs are increasing, electricity is going up. So people talk about, well, there's a shortage of jobs. I can't understand why somebody's in debt. Well, the job that they're
there's
doing,
only so many hours that you can work in a bar.
exactly.
There's only so you've got a ceiling of how much you can earn.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a certain profit margin. So this one particular person
still got to pay your rent, still got to pay your electric, which is getting more and more expensive.
Exactly. And there's issues with landlords, isn't there, at the moment, where they're trying to offload their buy-to-lets currently. So tenants have been moved out. The costs are going up because they've not maybe recovered the money that they would like to recover over the last 2 years, and that has created a challenge for this particular person that I was listening to. So I had an interesting story, which I found was, there was a client of ours that had an employee who was just down, and it turned out that this employee was down because her mum had passed away, but he was expecting that, but the real difficulty was he didn't have the money to pay for the funeral until her estate is covered, and he was really worried about it. It was quite an upsetting call, but the team found a charity that actually support this type, because it happens very often. So they were able to provide and lend this guy the money, zero interest, to be able to bury his mum, and then they will get their money back when the account's settled. And he was such a happy guy. So do you know what? It's not just I'm stressed, I'm depressed. It could be anything.
Actually found a practical solution. Brilliant.
Absolutely right. And we're able to search for that, provide him with the information. And I was listening to the call on that, and he was a very happy guy, and he rang in just to say, look, this has been great. Thank you very much indeed. But look, you know what? Going back to your original question, it's getting people back to work, Nikki, isn't it? Getting people back to work and keeping people happy. And if a business can provide some support to somebody that they need support, and it's genuine, okay, then why not? Why not help somebody?
I mean, what employer wouldn't want their employees to be happy and non-stressed, etc.? It's just logical, isn't it? One question that I had for you, Nick, is, and as an employer, you can provide these things. You can put a poster up and everything. Some people are just not very good at asking for help. Are there any tips as an employer how you can push them on along that journey a bit to actually pick up the phone or log into the app or whatever to try and get themselves help?
Okay, there's been a lot of talk about this, and I'm very pleased to have involved in a campaign that we're doing with Gary Neville at the moment, who is quite an incredible guy, whether you like football or not, and whether you know football and liked him or not. The guy's he's a fantastic guy, and it's we're all together, time to talk, and he talks a lot about the challenges that he had and some of his teammates had at Manchester United. And do you know what? He talks about that. The players were in fear of losing their position on the field if they felt that they would stand forward and say, I'm feeling a bit stressed, boss, and then Sir Alex might say, well, he hasn't got his head on, so he's on the bench and I'll bring somebody else on. And as I was listening to that, that is very much like every workforce. Some of the challenges, if you talk to an employee, or I don't want to mention it because suddenly the boss might think that I'm not on it. I'm not someone that can do the job, and I don't want to be losing my job. And I think that's the first message, is to ensure that the employees are aware that this is part of the culture. This is not a problem. Encourage an employee to have that in that one-to-one time, to be able to come forward to say, look, I'm struggling in this particular area, or I have something going on at home. I mean, look, I've got 2 kids, 12-year-old and 15-year-old. And I have to say, and I've been lucky. I've had, personal challenges, as we all have. But raising kids in today's environment, 12 and 15 is tough. And it's been one of the more tough things that we've gone through as a family. And they're good kids, don't get me wrong. But, there's something that's happening all the time. And I can see why that would affect somebody's performance at work. And people bring their issues at home into work, and it then becomes a work-related issue.
Of course.
So encourage the one-to-ones, encourage the talk. The fact that the employment assistance program is confidential, the confidence is not broken. For example, if I'm listening to a call, I'm not facing a computer, I'm turning away. I don't know who this person is. I mean, confidentially, as a director of the business, couldn't find out any information on who's ringing. That's not information that can be found. You can't breach that confidentially unless it has an effect on the workplace. For example, I don't know, let's use an easy one. Somebody's a HGV driver and rings up and says they're an alcoholic or something. Then clearly we would breach that and talk to the employer about the fact that this particular person needs help and shouldn't be driving. Clearly that's what we would breach it with. But otherwise it's confidential. Okay. The employer will get to know that somebody from the business is ringing in, but clearly, it's not something that's really talked about. Separately in the handbook, apps today make it easy. 25% of our calls are outside the hours of 9 to 5. The business takes 38,000 calls a month.
People, often usually they're worrying at night, and then that affects the sleep and everything, isn't it? So you need to have that you can't just go, oh, it's not 9 to 5, therefore I'm not able to worry. You worry when you worry. So there's clearly lots of benefits. Human, you want to have happy employees. As an employer, you want to have happy employees. Usually they're more productive employees as well, so it's only sensible as well to do that. So what other, as part of the whole looking after mental health, what other things can be put in place to try and help the staff? What other things have you seen that people have put into place in conjunction with the availability of the phone lines and the apps, etc.?
Okay, so there are an awful lot of webinars that we run, and our clients and their staff are able to click onto these webinars. We've got the business has got an app, and we have got very good famous people talking about their experiences on that. The business's most single highest investment was the app, and I was on it this morning, adding on my mood and adding on what my financial mood was. I listened to a video to do with stress in the workplace this morning. It was posted, and we've got people that people will recognise. Dr. Hilary Jones is on there with us. works with us talking about some of this stuff, a lot of stuff on COVID. So I think what we try and do, and what businesses can do, I mean, there's only so much you can do, but there is an awful lot there that people can click onto and watch and listen and broadcast. And sometimes you may not feel that you drink too much or smoke too much, but you may feel that you want to improve your lifestyle. So a lot of this is about well-being. Okay, so I'm not, you know, a fitness freak, but I try and keep myself as fit as I can. And I've actually found the healthy part of subscribing to that with some ideas and tips and things to eat and not to eat. I just find it just keeps me on a level a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Offering the positive things of, you know, extra fitness. You know, we've been talking about offering a nutrition seminar thing with some local nutritionists. You know, try and do some stuff before people feel, well, you know, to give them some positive, different experiences.
Yeah. Do you know what? And that's so important, because, you know, having an employment assistance program in place is not just to deal with mental health and stress. Now, we need to appreciate, like I said earlier, that it exists.
Because we want good mental health, isn't it? Everybody has mental health, but we're trying to get is to promote good mental health.
Exactly. And people have challenges themselves, and prevention's much better than cure in every area of life, isn't it? Yeah. From a business perspective, we should have this in place. We could end up with an employee going off work for stress and then claiming it was work related, and then before you know it, you're being sued for that. So I mean, that's the legal angle taken care of. So there's a good enough reason for any employers out there to get this stuff in place, show that you're a caring employer. But the way I like to come across it is to come across that there's going to be a whole heap of added benefits that your employees can look at and read and download and listen to podcasts that might just manage them through. There's a large part that we do to do with breathing techniques. You know, if people are feeling a little bit anxious, you know, when you sometimes get, I call them little flutters in your heart sometimes. When I hear something and I sometimes go, oh, you know, and maybe it's just me, maybe because I'm 50, I don't know. But I get that. And I think to myself, oh, that, you know, that's actually a little bit of anxiety. That's what that is.
Yes.
You know, and it's a bit, you know, that was, didn't feel comfortable. You know, understanding how to breathe at that point is important, and just relaxing a tad. And, you know, there's all sorts of sleeping techniques. There's so important, sleeping. And I've reduced my coffee intake. I know people say it, but actually reading the statistics on coffee, I'm predominantly on decaf at the moment. And there's lots of stuff, but I've learned this over the last month or so. I mean, this hasn't been things that I've implemented. We all know it's around, but hey, listen, I'm not some goody two-shoe, as you well know, Nikki. You know, I like a beer and a bit of fun and a burger and a good laugh like everybody else. But sometimes it's quite interesting when you read the type of stuff available, and you can make these little changes and allow the employees to make these changes in their own time and give them the opportunity to do that. And people do; they engage in it.
Absolutely. We've had some questions come in, so we've still got a little bit of time. So if you don't mind, we'll go through those. So let's see. Let's select one. First one is from Bal. Is there a waiting time to speak to a counsellor? So you mentioned about that there was it 6 to 8 potential sessions they could have. Is there a waiting time?
Well, you would ring in. Hi, Bal. You would obviously ring in on the code that you're given, and you know we have KPIs at the office, of course, and we look at answering the calls as quickly as we can. They will differ, but look, you know, the phone's going to ring. It will be answered, and then we're able to have a discussion at that point to talk about what the challenges are, and then, as I mentioned earlier, then we look to appoint a counsellor straight away. So that's how that works. But
brilliant.
We're answering our calls within 2 or 3 rings on 98% of the time.
Excellent. 2-3 weeks, nothing. Excellent. Another one, good one here, from Victoria. How do you promote the program to staff?
Okay, so when a client joins us, they're sent the welcome pack, of course. They're also given a support person individually. Everybody that joins us has one particular account manager, and they're sent information that they can download. So you can download articles where you can send to staff. They get access to the code to get into the My Healthy Advantage app. Okay, you can print some bits off, and you can have them on the toilet door, or you can have them around the office. So generally, people email them around.
You can have it in your induction pack.
Induction packs, your employment handbook, of course, which is a requirement to have that in there. So there's plenty of ways in which the employees will get to know about it.
Excellent. Another one, I think we touched a little bit on this, but how do you encourage employees to use it?
Okay.
I presume it's assuring them it is confidential for a start, because that could be a concern for some, but it's 100% it's confidential. We're not going to know. We're not going to be able to go, hey, I know, Laura, you've got such and such issue, because I'm not going to know.
No, you're not going to know. Absolutely right. And you would be using, see, again, an employee. I mean, if you've got, I don't know, I'm being quite general, but you might have an employee that doesn't have a phone or an app and no idea how to use it. Well, you would use paper and leaflets at that point and provide them a little card. I have a card in my wallet. It's the Health Assured card. It also extends to family and friends too.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I have a friend of mine who very unfortunately has just lost his mum, and he's taken some advice already and support, mainly on the financial side, the impacts on the financial side for that. So that's where he's decided to take that. So yeah, we, again, if you talk about it in a positive way and you have the leaflets around and you're sending information that we send to you about joining the webinars, then you can encourage your staff in that way.
Excellent. Okay, a practical one. So, somebody's heard about this today and they're thinking, oh, yeah, this is something that we want. But be thinking, yeah, I'd love to have it, but surely it must cost a fortune. Liz is asking, how much is it? Obviously, I presume it's different for different companies, but what sort of ballpark are we thinking? If we're talking a small SME, what's the starting point?
Okay, so hi Elizabeth. We have a fixed amount that we have for businesses under 30. So it's based on an annual fee over a term, and that term can be anywhere between 12 months or 60 months, and that rate will range somewhere from £750 to £1,250 a year. That's
wow.
it.
That's
so
nothing. So if you were an employer of 10 people, say,
that would be
see,
where that would be.
Yeah. So if you think about it, employer of 10 people, if they all had five counsellor sessions a year, that's 10, 5. Yeah, that would be, you're going to be talking about thousands, because the cost, and that's if you can get a counsellor, find one, it's ridiculous. So it's just so much, you just then think it's just there, it's just one fee, done, and it's there for clients to use it.
Yeah, it's an annual fee, and you're quite right. If you were to go to your doctor and look, hey, I love doctors, this is not.
Oh no, I love my GP, but the reality is there are waiting lists for these things.
14 days. This is day one intervention. So if you have somebody in the business that needs some support, then they will get support on that day. And then that's a good start from there. But look, to give you an idea, I don't know, 80 staff, for instance, you'll be looking at £8.50 per employee per year or something. I mean, it's not it's not looked upon as an expensive. It's not occupational health, of course, which is a different level.
Yeah.
Pricing wise, it's having the system in place for when it's being used. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, that is great. Thank you. That was really great questions there as well. Thank you very much. Hopefully everyone's learned something from it. And so, there's no reason not to look into one, I think personally. So Nick, for obviously, what's the best way for people to contact you?
Okay, so I have an email address. It's nick.babington@healthassured.co.uk. My mobile number is 07896 036 993. They can come onto LinkedIn. I have a team of guys, good people, who through me would be able to provide any more information that they need. If anybody wants access to the app, okay, as a trial, they can. I have a secret code, which I can give you, and somebody can use that and play around that. That's absolutely fine. That's quite good. If they wanted more information, and look, it's not just a question of do you want to buy it or not. That's not what I'm here for. If I've had the opportunity to maybe open a few eyes and make people think about this in a bit more detail, there is help out there. If anybody needs help, look, come to us. We'll find you help. Look,
absolutely,
we don't turn anybody away. So if somebody's not a client but they need help, hey, get in contact with us. We'd much rather give people help than not. But if somebody would like to know a bit more information about how this all works, then of course I'd be very happy to ensure that's done.
Absolutely. And if you're watching it on LinkedIn, you'll see Nick's details there, so you can just click and connect to him. If you're watching on YouTube, do just rewind and listen to Nick's email address and mobile again, or look him up on LinkedIn. Anyway, thank you so much, Nick. It was great to catch up with you today. Really insightful and really useful. And I hope there will be employers out there who will make use of this, because it's a responsible thing to do as an employer. So thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, and you, Nikki. I'll see you soon for lunch.
See you soon. Thank you. Yes. Cheers.
See
Bye-bye.
you later.
Cheerio.
Bye. Bye.